Cool. Okay, guys, welcome to the Alternative Movement Podcast, where we talk about everything adaptive training. My name is Craig, your host, and today we are joined by Ross Austen. How you doing, Ross?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I did pronounce your surname right, didn't I?
Yeah, that's Austen. Yeah.
Cool.
It's spelled E-N now. A lot of people.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, because normally I was thinking Austin or Austen. I was trying to get it bang on, but yeah, I did it. Yeah, thanks for joining me, buddy. I really appreciate you being on.
No problem.
I've followed you for a little while. I've seen some of the stuff you do. You train at a CrossFit gym, looks cool as shit. So I was buzzing to get you on and get your sort of your input. Ross, I know a decent amount about you. I've sort of done my research. I've got my notes, as I've already said. But I'd love you to introduce yourself to my audience as well, and sort of give us a bit of an idea about your background, about what you do, and who you are.
Yeah, cool. So obviously, I'm Ross Austen. I'm 39 years old. I'm ex-military. I was in the military for 12 years. Commando trained, part of 3 Commando Brigade, 5/9 Independent Commando Squadron. Did 12 years in the military, three tours. On my last tour, unfortunately, I got injured by an IED, which resulted in losing my left leg above the knee. I have half a foot on the right side and quite a lot of damage to the upper leg on the right side as well. After 6 months in hospital and about 42 operations, I then went to Headley Court, did 2.5 years rehab at Headley Court, obviously learning how to walk again, get my fitness back, and then got medically discharged in June 2012. Off the back of that, kind of had a really bad couple of years with my mental health. And it wasn't until then I decided to try and get back into some sort of fitness and sport. Obviously, I did a lot of sport and fitness through my recovery and my rehab, which obviously helped massively. So initially, I just joined the local gym, started to train just to try and get some sort of fitness back, sort of get into a routine of getting out of the house, which obviously then helps with your mental health. From then on, I saw an email basically came across my desk to try powerlifting, which is the bench press part of powerlifting. So obviously, because majority of the people that do it have got lower limb disabilities. So I did that, kind of got hooked on it, started entering sort of local competitions, did about 3 or 4 competitions, and then got invited by the British Weightlifting Association to go and compete.
Sorry, dude. Go on, bugger off.
I thought I was trying to see if it was a cat or a dog.
No, it's a hairless cat.
Yeah, got invited up by the British Weightlifting Association to go and compete at the British Champs in 2015. I went up. They said, it'll be an eye opener and a good learning curve, and obviously you're competing against the GB squad members. And I went up there and ended up winning my category and becoming British champion in 2015, which then led on to me then joining the GB squad. And then for 6 years, I represented Team GB, competing all over the world, competed at 2 world championships. At my height, I was ranked 13th in the world. Missed out on Tokyo qualification. And then obviously COVID hit, all gyms shut.
Messed everything up.
All gyms shut, obviously competition stopped. So for a good year, I started to have a real think about what I wanted to do moving forward if we ever sort of came out of this pandemic. So having done 6 years worth of powerlifting within the GB squad, I decided I think that I wanted to try something else. There's lots of opportunities were sort of getting presented to me, but when you sign a contract with the squad, there's you've got to be careful that you don't get injured. And I'm quite an active person, like to push myself, and there was other things I wanted to do, and I wasn't getting any younger. So I had
injuries come into place.
Yeah, had a chat with my coach, had a chat with the rest of the squad members and performance managers and stuff, and decided to retire from the GB squad from powerlifting. Didn't really know what I wanted to go into straight away. I knew I was going to always be in fitness and sport. It's helped massively, obviously physically and mentally. So I knew, worst case scenario, I'd just be going and training in the gym every day and just, keeping fit and healthy. That's when I was approached by an ex fellow squadron lad of mine, Carl, who opened up a CrossFit box in Devon where I live as well. He got medically discharged from the military with diabetes. So he set up a box, obviously being good friends from the squadron days. He messaged me out the balloons like, have you ever thought about doing CrossFit? I was like, never done it. Obviously, I had friends that did it, used to take the mick out of them, and stuff and that.
As you do, and until you try it, until you try it, and you're like, I'm in.
And then day one, I turned up and I think he got payback and chucked me on a rower, and I nearly died. And yeah, so I've been doing it ever since. So that was back in January. So I'm not even into a full year yet of CrossFit, and that is where I'm at right now.
You're in the CrossFit game. So CrossFit all or nothing, game. Isn't it?
Yeah, so CrossFit All or Nothing based in Barnstable in Devon.
Cool. Is it? How long's that box been open for?
So initially it was opened just before COVID. So
oh man, I bet he was panicking.
Yeah, so they opened the box, and then their first whole year they were actually closed. But the good thing for myself, obviously being, I suppose, classed as an elite athlete, and it's my day job, and that there was rules around professional athletes still allowing to train. So we approached the council and put in all the relevant paperwork that allowed me to train. So actually, even though the box was closed to its members, I was allowed to come and still use the facilities. And then it meant Carl can obviously coach me and obviously still work as well. So but we had the whole box to ourselves for a year, quietly introducing me into CrossFit behind closed doors kind of thing, so that when I was ready to start sort of getting out there a bit, I'd at least had a little bit of training under my belt.
That's quite weird then. So you've sort of started CrossFit in a bit of a different way, because I know when I first started, it was really the community aspect of it, and like when you go into a big class of people, and it's like when you're doing a workout, and as soon as people start finishing, they start crowding the people that are not finished and cheering people on. So you didn't necessarily have that.
I've noticed, it's almost like you said before, it is a lifestyle as well. It's not just, you go to the gym and train and then that's it, and then you go, but it is a lifestyle. A lot of the members meet up outside of classes itself, and like you say, once you finish, that's not, everyone's encouraging everybody. It doesn't matter what level you're at either. So it's a great buzz, great vibe, and really good community.
It's quite scary to sort of, I think, first initial step through the door, because you do see these CrossFit athletes. If you watch the CrossFit Games and you've seen them compete, you think these absolute units, these machines doing like unbroken 50 pull-ups, and you're thinking, wow, I'm not going to be able to do this. But then you go in there and you realize, there is like so many different levels of people, and it's such a welcoming environment, and you don't get made to feel like just because you can't do some of the maybe more technical skill work that you're less of an athlete. Whereas no, you step through the door. If you're willing to train, you're willing to be coached. Like,
exactly.
Get involved.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't, like you say, unless you're going to be doing it sort of full time as your main job, like you say, like some of these big athletes are like absolute machines, and it's just a completely different level of fitness altogether. I mean, within 2 weeks of starting, I dropped 10 kilos of muscle mass. I mean, I was really strong, obviously coming from a strength-based sport. But no CV, no cardio, no conditioning whatsoever. So I was strong. So obviously there was elements of that I could bring across into CrossFit, but I almost had to pretty much start again. And obviously then you've got my disability to take into consideration as well. And it was probably perfect timing, because as I transitioned into CrossFit itself then announced that they were going to do adaptive divisions at the CrossFit Games. So it was like, right, that's my calling then. I'm not here just to take part. I'm going to try now and see if I can get to the games, and that's my main goal from now on. So I was lucky enough that my sponsors from the GB squad came with me and followed me, which allow me still to train full time just within a different sport now.
I mean, that's what I love about CrossFit as well. Like, as you say, like, it's the adaptive side of things. Like, I was more drawn into that. I actually probably enjoyed watching the adaptive games more than the actual CrossFit Games itself, because seeing like someone like Logan Aldridge doing like a single arm rope climb, it's like, oh my God.
I know, and you see that guy snatching and cleaning like twice much as weight as I can do. I'm like, it's unreal.
That's it, and it's just sort of like putting me to shame a little bit. And that's the beauty. That's what I love what I do, man. Like, there's no excuses anymore. Like, you see some of the guys like you've probably seen my Instagram, some of the guys I work with, like not a single day they come in and say they've had a shit day. Not that a single day they come in and say they just get stuck in, and there's no excuses there. There's no barriers for them. It's like, I'm going to do this. And same with the CrossFit game athletes as well. It's like, there's nothing going to hold me back from achieving this goal. And dude, I'm excited to see you going to the games. Are you aiming for next year?
Yeah, I am aiming. I mean, I did, as I say, I started in January, so I'm still in my first year. I haven't even done a full year. So my coach Carl at the time, after 2 weeks, because it was obviously the Open was coming up, decided to chuck me in the Open as an eye opener. Bearing in mind, I hadn't done any CV for 6 years. I still couldn't even do a muscle up and like handstand. You know, there's loads of movements I still couldn't do. But it was an eye opener, and I got chucked into it. And I ended up finishing, I think, 6th for the UK, 21st in Europe, and I think I managed to break into the top 100. I think I was 96th in the world just within 2 weeks, and I was like, right, that's given me a target. If I can do that if I can do that in 2 weeks, what can I do in a year? Give me a year and let's go again. So
yeah, man.
Obviously this year it's just been about you know, conditioning, learning all the movements. So now, and then once obviously I got all the movements and that, it was then just building on strength, conditioning, because obviously CrossFit's just, you just got to be good at everything. You know, there's not one thing, because you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. And that's what I quite like about the CrossFit as well, is like the training is just so, you know, varied. I haven't done since walking in the gym, I haven't done the same workout once, which is, back in the day with the powerlifting days, you know, the training was, there was one objective: just get strong. And you do the same kind of training.
Your bench, your deadlifts, your press.
You do all your same type of training. You just, all that happens is you just go through different phases of your program. So after a while, I was getting a little bit bored of the same things. So yeah, it was good to get away from that. So as I say, I've not done any what do you call it? Sorry, 2 seconds. Okay.
That's all right.
So, yeah, I hadn't done any of the same training. And that's what I liked. I like the variety and the thing. And I'm not getting bored. I'm absolutely loving it and buzzing. So, you know, this year was about getting the training in, but also, you know, the box being new, we wanted to get the box out there. You know, the first year being closed because of COVID, we wanted to get the box out there. So obviously we started entering into a few competitions and that. We've been doing battle cancer competitions, raising money for charity as well.
Yeah, a few of the guys that I work with went and done that as well. I was working that weekend, so I didn't manage to get the opportunity to go, but that looked really fun.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Good yeah, really good crack. So and then we did the Renegade Games as well. Cool. We had an in-house comp with a couple of other boxes and that we're linked to. So yeah, it was good. And then in fact, when I was in Berlin at one of the battle cancer, someone said, "Oh, why don't you try and enter Wodapalooza," which is obviously a big comp in Miami, which is one of the biggest CrossFit competitions outside the games itself. So I entered into that, and then managed to get one of the qualifying spots for the scale adaptive division, which was good. So I'm now literally in training now for Wodapalooza in January.
Decent, man. So you're going out to Miami?
Yeah, going to Miami in January, which will be good. And then hopefully
a little bit jealous.
There, come back ready for the Open.
Oh, that'd be sick, man. That'd be sick. And you have a nice tan as well.
Yeah, hopefully if it's not raining. I've got a friend out there in a minute, so it's absolutely chucking it down.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's not very nice. So take me back. So before your injury, had you always been into fitness? Is that something? Because obviously,
yeah. So if I go right back, so when I left school, well, even growing up, I wanted to be a footballer. I was quite a good footballer, and being a young lad back in those days, everyone wanted to be a footballer. So I had a few trials as a kid, but never quite made it. I then ended up going to college and doing health and fitness and sports science, because I knew I wanted to work in the fitness industry. And it was the same old crack, you know. No, after I finished college, no one would give me a job because, you know, I didn't have any experience. I was like, well, how am I going to get experience if you don't give me a job? So,
it's that chicken and egg in it.
Yeah. And then I had uncles and cousins in the military, and everyone would be like, you'd be like amazing in the military, so why don't you join the military? And I had a really good look at it and thought, yeah, why not? Initially, I was going to join the PT Corps because obviously, you know, I wanted to be a PTI and stuff. But then someone said, would you not rather be doing it or teaching it? And I said, actually, I'd rather be doing it. So I then didn't I ended up going joining the Royal Engineers, because as Royal Engineers, there's so many branches that you can go off. So you can get a trade which you can use outside in Civvy Street. You can go and do the commando course. You can go and do your dive course. You can go and do your P company. So I ended up joining the Royal Engineers and then branching off and doing all of them. So I ended up doing them all. And then once I passed my commando course, I was posted down to Devon with 5/9 Independent Commando Squadron. I was there for good 12 years. Did Iraq and Afghan twice. And it was on my last tour of Afghan that I got injured. I tried an IED.
Wow. So how was that? Like, I couldn't even begin to comprehend like that moment of
It's
treading
hard
on an
because
IED.
it's been 13 years this year. So it was 19th of November. So, the date's not long gone. So it's 13 years. So it feels like yesterday. I can remember it clear as day. So basically, we were out in a FOB shared with American Special Forces. We wanted to move and have our own UK FOB. So we'd done a few recce's of a new site that we were gonna take. Obviously, it came to the day of the move. We went to move up there. Bearing in mind, there's only 2 or 3 routes that you could take. Obviously, Taliban had been watching, so I'd obviously planted a lot of IEDs. I came to a compound. Obviously, being engineers, we wanted to basically blow a hole into this wall to get into this compound. So I cleared a safe route up. I didn't mark it because the plan was to set a charge long enough for me to clear a separate route back, get behind the wall where the rest of the lads were sat. That would go bang, we'd go in. So I never marked the route up there. As I knelt down to set the charge, a couple of rounds hit the wall above my head. So obviously I was getting shot at. So I had to make a split decision to put a quicker charge on it and then just get out of there. I knew roughly the route that I'd taken, and I knew it was like sort of there or thereabouts. And I just decided set the charge and get out of there. Otherwise I'm going to get shot. So I set the charge, was running back to the wall where the rest of the lads were stacked, got to about 2 meters from behind the wall, just went bang. I just got thrown up in the air, sort of 30 feet. But the first thing I remember was as soon as the first small initiation, obviously to set the charge off, that went bang. Everything went slow mo. So I just remember my weapon getting ripped out my hand, sort of getting thrown up 30 feet in the air. It was all shrapnel and dust, and I landed. Everything was coming down in slow mo, and then out of nowhere, it kind of just sped up back to normal reality time. And it was just mayhem, rounds going off, people shouting, people obviously attending to me. I didn't have a clue what was going on, type thing. Didn't really know the state of my injuries. I wasn't in any pain because of the adrenaline and that. And it wasn't until the guys were putting the tourniquets on me to stop the bleeding that I was trying to pull them off, because I had to put them on so tight. They were like, I was screaming in pain because I was trying to rip them off. They were obviously putting them on tighter. And then I believe I had a couple more shots of morphine, and then I don't remember anything after that. Got taken back to Camp Bastion. Normally, they'd fly you out within 24 hours, but I wasn't stable enough. I only just made it back to Camp Bastion. If I'd been another K up the road or further up, I probably wouldn't have made it back. And then I had to have 10 emergency operations in Camp Bastion, and then they flew me out the following day back to Selly in Birmingham at the time. Obviously, once I was there, I was in intensive care for 6 months. Over that period of time, I had another 30 odd operations. And then once they said you're stable enough, they sent me to Headley Court, where I did 2.5 years of rehab.
Wow, it's a crazy amount of operations, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'd imagine what you can put your body through.
Yeah, you see, like I say, you said like it sped up and slowed down during the moment, like almost.
No, it did. It was.
I
weird.
guess it's like
out of the film.
Like, yeah, I was gonna say, like when you watch the films and like it all goes like silent, you've got that little ringing in the air, and you're like looking around like what's going on, and all of a sudden it's like speeds up and it's like bullets going off, and
it's exactly literally what it happened.
That's got to be
it went slow mo, and I'll say the first thing I remember is just my weapon kind of getting ripped at my hand, and I was thinking, what's going on? And then as it got ripped at my hand, I started getting thrown up in the air, sort of going off to the side. And then I just remember landing, and it was just like everything, like shrapnel, dust, everything was just slow motion. And then I could hear like people, you know, like when they're just everything was just slow mo. It was weird. And then all of a sudden it just went and then caught back up on itself, and then it was just carnage, absolute mayhem.
Jeez. So what was your first like initial thoughts after sort of like, obviously you had the morphine, you was out your brain, like out your head, and then next thing you know, you wake up, you just had your operations and stuff, and
yeah,
what
well,
was your first initial thoughts?
Well, apparently, I mean, I don't remember. So they apparently, when I was in Camp Bastion and I'd had the first few operations, I think they put my mum on the phone, because my mum remembers speaking to me, but I can't remember any of it. So I was awake and kind of conscious, because apparently I was talking to my mum on a sat phone. But as I say, I don't remember any of that. I don't actually remember any of the flight back or anything like that. And I literally just remember waking up back in the UK, sort of like a day or two later. And then, you know, you wake up. I knew obviously I'd been injured. I didn't know what had happened yet. I didn't know, you know, it was an IED or if it'd been a mortar, a rocket attack or what, or if I'd trodden on a mine, because obviously Afghanistan is covered in mines from all the previous wars and stuff before. So I didn't know exactly what caused it. And I didn't even know what my injuries were at the time, because I didn't lose my leg straight away.
No, that was one of the things I read. That was a decision you made later, wasn't it?
Yeah, so because the knee was really badly damaged. I had two plates, about 10 to 12 screws in it. A big chunk of it was missing. I had a big chunk out of my calf on that side. It was just mangled basically, but because it was still attached, they try and save as much as possible. But the problem I had is I was in so much pain with the knee, and I couldn't really put much weight for it. And I was like, well, you know, I'm going to go through 2-3 years of rehab trying to hobble on
which might not work, and it
hobble on
might
this leg with
certain...
a walking stick or with crutches or be in a wheelchair, for then later on to say, you know, it's better to get rid of it, or do I just do that now and get on with it? So I went and saw a couple of different specialists, and they all said the same thing. They said 5 years, 10 years time, you will have to have an amputation. So I just went, right, so you're telling me at some point in my life I'm going to have an amputation? And they were like, yeah. I was like, well, I might as well do it now while I'm younger and get on with it.
Yeah, and you have more time to adapt to it.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I decided to have the amputation, and then get on with it. And it was probably the best decision I made, because, you know, straight away I wasn't in as much pain as I was, and two, I could walk. I could, you know, at least I could put weight through the prosthetic leg. So, you know, for me, it was probably one of the easiest decisions to make.
Yeah, that's crazy to even have to make that decision full stop. But I guess if you're in that position where it's like, yeah, I can be in agony for the next God knows how many years, and then I've got to have my leg removed, and then I've got to learn how to use a prosthetic limb. Yeah, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? It's just like, do it now, get it done,
exactly,
rip it off, let's go.
Yeah, it was, you know, you got a bit at the time as well. I was already at Headley Court starting my rehab, and I seen guys walking on prosthetic limbs. I was like, you know, he's got one leg and he's more mobile than I am. I'm like, you know, in a wheelchair or trying to hobble about on a walking stick. I was like, you know, I need to get rid of this leg and get mobile. So yeah, so it was quite an easy decision for me.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say what decision I'd make in that situation, but I mean, thinking about it, yeah, I'd probably have made the same decision, 100%. So how did you find, like, after that, was it a while before you started getting into training? And obviously, because you mentioned about the GB,
yeah, well, I did so 2.5 years rehab. So there, obviously, you just concentrate on. So the main aim is obviously to get me up and walking, but obviously you need to get your bit of your fitness levels back and that, because obviously with my prosthetic leg being above me, I burn 80% more energy than you to walk. That's not doing any exercise, and it literally just to walk, that takes that amount of energy. So obviously you get tired really quickly, so you've got to get obviously your fitness up just to be able to walk on the prosthetic leg. So we were doing lots of physio, lots of sort of circuit training, body weight stuff, swimming, lots of swimming, because obviously we're, you know, being in the water, you can take the weight off it. So lots of swimming and stuff. And then as you progress through your rehab, they start introducing sports and stuff. So as just, you know, because obviously sports are a great way to get back into fitness, and obviously it really helps with your mental health as well. So I was introduced to all these Paralympic sports I'd never done. You know, I'd watched them for years on the telly, but never done them all. And then all of a sudden I found myself, you know, trying wheelchair basketball and wheelchair rugby and doing lots of swimming and stuff. And it was, you know, really good to kind of get back into that sort of fitness world again.
So how did you find that sort of going into becoming like an adaptive athlete like later in life, as opposed to, because I'm assuming some of the guys maybe playing wheelchair basketball and rugby might have been disabled or had an adaptation from birth. So
yeah, exactly.
How did that feel for yourself going into that?
I didn't really. I suppose I didn't really look at it. The thing with me, with my mindset, and that obviously being ex-military and the fact that I'm commando trained, you know, we're very determined, we're very motivated, we've got a strong mindset. So initially, for me, when I went into it, I was like, right, I'm not just doing this for the crack. I want to be the best at basketball. So I ended up joining a local team, because in my head, I mean, I knew I hadn't said it, but I was like, all I was thinking about in the back of my head was Paralympic Games.
Right.
Because that was my mindset. I was like, right, you know, I'm not just doing this for the sake of it. I want to be the best at this. So I ended up really enjoying the wheelchair basketball when I was going from a rehab. I ended up joining a local team. And then I was doing it for a while. And then there was guys there, like you say, that had been born with the disabilities and that had been playing for 10, 15 years, that were obviously a lot better than me, but still way off the level standard for, you know, Team GB. And I was like, well, I haven't got time on my side. So I ended up thinking, right, what else can I do? So I tried swimming, I am actually now a better swimmer now with one leg than I was with two. So I tried swimming, because I became quite a good swimmer. I ended up starting off doing triathlon to start with. So I started doing triathlon, doing a bit of cycling, but found that it was quite, one, it's a very expensive sport, and two, you need all your time to train because you're training 3 different disciplines. So for me, it was like, right, and because I've only got half a foot on my right side, running was quite an issue with me. I had a blade, but I couldn't, because I had no toes on this side to push off on. My running was like my weakest discipline by far. So I was part of the development squad for a while doing that. But then, like I said, I was just like, right, I don't think my running's going to be where I need it to be. So I pulled away from that, and then didn't do anything for about a year. Was just going to the gym, just getting strong and that in the gym, and just training in the gym. And then I saw this, like I said, this email advert thing that came across in my spam or whatever, saying about powerlifting. I thought, yeah, I can shift some weight. Why not? Let's give it a crack. And then that was a completely different ball game altogether. You know, I had to almost, you know, start. You know, there's me thinking, oh yeah, I can do that, and then got there and I was like, blimey, there's more to it than just benching.
Just lifting up a heavy weight.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I got into that, and I found that as my sort of my little way in really into what I wanted to do. Because I say I had this mindset that I just wanted to. I wasn't here, you know. I've been given a second chance. Just because I've got a prosthetic leg doesn't mean why can I not be the best at this or that. So that's where I then decided, right, I'm gonna give this everything I've got. I found something that, you know, I don't have to have my leg, because for benching you don't need your leg on, it's all upper body. So I found something that actually my disability didn't affect. So it didn't matter what my injuries were, I could still do this to my best of my ability. So that's when then obviously I started training hard for it, and then obviously got the invite to the British, became British champion in 2015, and then it just kind of snowballed really quickly from there really.
That's a good mindset to have behind that. I think like striving for that sort of that top end to keep you sort of motivated. Did you sort of going on to sort of like the mental health side of things, did you suffer quite a bit after the injury?
Yeah, I did. So when I left, so I did 2.5 years at Headley Court. So obviously when you're there, you're around all the lads, so everyone gets it. And obviously being military, we had the banter, so we all took the mick out of each other and that, but it didn't matter because we was all in the same boat. So and if you was having a bad day, you know, the lads knew what you're going through, and vice versa. If one of the lads with a bad day, you'd make sure they're all right. And once you knew they were all right, you need to take the mick out of them, you know. But everyone understood that. And you're with them like day in, day out. So then to get medically discharged, be sent home, to then not see anybody and just sitting at home all day.
I suppose that's quite a surreal moment, isn't it? It's sort of like I think a lot of people, even someone that hasn't been injured from the military, they're just coming out, and it's just a different way of life, and it becoming a civvy, and like you've got that sort of camaraderie from the corps, wherever you're in, whatever unit, and then all of a sudden, right, okay, you're back into normal life again. Enjoy.
Yeah, the thing is as well, what they don't understand is a lot of the military guys. So like civvies have their workmates, they have separate groups of friends. So your workmates are your mates in the military, so they're like your family. So you know, from going from having all your mates, being around all your mates, to then and having a job that you did with your mates, to then going home, not seeing anybody, having no mates around, you're just like, brilliant, what am I doing now? Chilling in fun, watching crap telly. And then that's when obviously, you know, you start your drinking and stuff, and then it's just a big spiral, isn't it? And it just leads on to other things. And then for 2 years I was really bad. Like I tried to commit suicide twice.
Wow.
I was on a lot of medication. I was probably on about 40 tablets a day for all my pain and that. But the tablet, my body got so used to the tablets that in the end it didn't really matter if I took them or didn't. The pain was still there. Obviously drinking a lot wasn't doing anything. You know, I was putting on a bit of weight and just so frustrated, because I was like, you know, I did this great career in the military. I wanted to go on and do other things, and then obviously having that all cut short, and then, you know, not seeing your mates, not seeing anybody, you just sat home twiddling your thumbs day. You know, it'd be days where you don't even want to get out of bed. You just spend all day in bed, and if you do get out of bed, it's just to go and get a drink or something. And then it's just, you know, and it's that same cycle. And the problem is as well, it's all right going to, so you know, you go to your local GP and they're like, oh, you got a bit of depression. You're like, well, I think it's a little bit more than that.
It's a little bit more deep rooted than just a little bit of depression.
You sit there and you speak to your local GP and you tell them, you know, or like I've just said to you what happened, and they sit there like, don't know what I say to that, because they don't come across that every day. You know what I mean? So, and all they do is they do, you know, chuck you more tablets. You're like, brilliant. How's this helping? You know? So so I had a really bad, tough couple of years. And then I decided to come off my medication. So I actually started weaning myself off one by one each week. I'd drop a tablet.
So was that your decision? Was it? Or
yeah,
was
that was my decision. Well, I'd spoken to pain specialists before. They advised me not to, but they also said there was no other medication we could give you because you was on pretty much everything. So I was like, well, I'm not going to take stuff for the sake of it. I don't want to get addicted to anything. So I'm just going to wean myself off. The pain's no different when it doesn't matter, does it really? So
no.
I just was like, I'll just grizz it. I'll just grizz the pain with nothing, because it's pointless just taking it. So I just weaned one tablet off each week until I was on nothing. And I haven't been on anything for, Jesus, what we're on now, probably since 2014. I haven't been on any medication or anything.
So no pain medication at all?
No pain medication or anything. And then, after obviously the couple of suicide attempts, I just thought, right, you know, what the hell are you doing? You know, you need to get a grip of yourself. There's far worse people out there. You know, I went through Headley Court for 2.5 years, and there's, you know, people there with 2 limbs missing, 3 limbs missing. I was like, you've just got 1 leg missing, you know, kind of thing. So I had a strong word in myself, and that's when I then joined the gym and just started getting back into some sort of fitness.
So for you, like that, then first moments in the gym, how did you find that sort of the first week, month, year?
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah. First, you know, first few months, obviously aching because you hadn't done anything for a while, and obviously it's hard to motivate yourself. But after sort of 2 months, 3 months, you know, you get into that kind of mindset, into that little bit of a routine, and then I started enjoying it. And then after, it was probably about a year I'd been in the gym when that email come across my desk about the powerlifting. So I was like, that's. So
was it a commercial gym you went into?
Yeah, it was just a leisure centre, like the local leisure centre.
How did you find they sort of, like when you come in, because obviously I guess like a lot of places don't always see someone with a leg missing or something like that. So how did you find maybe the staff?
Yeah,
or the coaches?
but like, I was used to just people stare at the leg, and it didn't really bother me. mainly obviously children don't see it all the time, so they're the ones that always stare and have a laugh, and it's the parents that normally get a bit embarrassed in that. But it didn't bother me.
Don't look.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. I didn't care if people wanted to stare at me. I just put my headphones on. I didn't talk to anybody. I was just in there, headphones on. I was there just training and just doing my thing. And did that for a year, and then obviously gradually, because you go at the same time in that routine, you start meeting other people and that go at the same time, and then obviously you start chatting and that, and then it really helped getting back into my fitness.
I think that's it, the ability to start speaking to people as well, and it's getting you out your own head, out your own house, especially if you've been stuck indoors all the time and you've got no one else to really vent to or speak to. Same as some of my clients, they have like the worst day ever, and like I'm not saying I'm like a counselor or anything, but I know, like, I had one of my clients text me this morning. He came to me yesterday. He felt absolutely rubbish. He said he's had a really bad day, crap day at work. But yeah, just having a conversation and having a session. Like he walked away and texted me this morning and said, like, cheers for yesterday. I'm in so much better mood. And it does. That's what fitness does. And
it does. Yeah. I mean, I've done some horrendous workouts, and and while you're doing it, you just want to stop and that. But then when you're done, that, like you say, that feeling that you get, that that you've done it, and you do get a buzz for it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Like, the job I do is because I've seen how much it can help people, and I know I probably preach a bit too much about fitness to people. I'm like, it will change your life, and they're like, oh, will it though? I'm like, no, absolutely will. If you go and try, if you struggle to get to sleep at night, go and do a hard workout. Like, I guarantee you will not struggle getting to sleep that night. Like, if you don't like drinking water, go for a run. I guarantee water will be the most delicious thing you've ever tasted in your life after that run. So yeah, I've seen a lot of positive come from fitness. So with yourself, like I've seen that you've gone into sort of like motivational talking, and speaking, and this sort of direction. How have you found that? Is that sort of something that you've just sort of started, or is that something you've been doing for a while?
I've been doing it probably for a number of years now. I did so after the British Champs in 2015, I did Invictus Games. Obviously, Prince Harry set up the Invictus Games, and by then I was already in the GB squad. So obviously I did the powerlifting at the Invictus Games. So it didn't affect my training or anything, and being a member of the squad. So I did that. I won a silver medal in that. And then I came back from there and then found myself. So I hadn't done any talking by then, but when I came back from there, I found myself a little bit in the sort of the spotlight. I was straight in the local paper and a little bit like that. And then people like schools were coming to me saying, oh, can you come and do some talks? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. I'm quite happy to do that. So initially I was going into schools, around schools, taking my medal in and just doing a couple of sort of little motivational talks. And then I had companies that wanted me to come and do talks as well, but go into a bit more in depth, obviously, with my injury and that. So I then had sort of 3 or 4 different presentations set up, depending on who my audience was, depending on how much depth I went into and that. And then obviously still doing my career. So obviously more medals I picked up on the way. I used to just obviously in schools and take all my medals in and that. And then I think it was on, I did a talk for one of the companies. And then I went in a bit more depth into obviously my mental health side of things, like through my recovery and stuff like that. Then I then became a mental health ambassador for one of the companies. So then I ended up doing sort of 2 separate talks. So I had a motivational talk, and then I had a mental health talk presentation that I would literally just talk about sort of all the dark days and how I overcome it, and that the fact that I'm here now talking to you guys type thing. And I've been doing that probably since 2016.
Amazing. So you enjoyed it, I take it, if you've
I don't mind talking. I'm quite I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm quite happy to talk about it. It doesn't affect me anyway, talking about any of it. And if it helps, if I'm doing a motivational talk and it inspires people, then great, because that's what I'd love to do, is inspire people and that. And then if I'm doing a mental health talk and it reaches somebody that, especially in men, obviously we're so bad about talking about our feelings and stuff and admitting that we've got a problem.
What's that? What's feelings?
Yeah, exactly. So if I
shove them down.
If I can do a talk to somebody and it makes someone realize that actually I'm not okay and I need help, then you know, I've done my job then. You know, I did a talk last year. So when we came out the back of the first lockdown, I ended up doing a talk for a group of construction company in London. It was, and it's all construction workers, all taking this out of each other and that. And I did this talk, and I was really honest and open and that, and told them how it is. And then straight away after that talk, three guys come up to me and go, look, I think I need help, like, kind of thing. And I was like, you know, just that there, if I potentially saved them 3 guys from trying to do something silly, then I've done my job.
Wow. Yeah, definitely, man. I know it's obviously, it's quite a harsh way to look at it like this, but like, you've almost been given an opportunity and a platform to help others. I know you've had to go through a lot in the process to do that.
Exactly.
You've obviously lost limbs, you've lost a foot, you've had to go through all this stress, you've had to go through dark days yourself, but now you're sort of come out the other side and you're in a position now where you can help other people. And it's like, it's sort of rehashed your purpose in life. Like, whereas before, like, you had that very, very clear vision of what you wanted to join the military, you wanted to go in a certain direction, but then in a heartbeat that just got taken away. And yes, you let it get you down, but ultimately you've chosen a new path. But
yeah, I mean, I've been given a second chance, and you've got to take the most of it. You know, we lost a couple of friends that obviously didn't make it. I've been given a second chance, and now, like, I have this saying, like, every day's a holiday. Just go and do, because you never know what's around the corner. You just got to go and do what you want. So whether that's ticking stuff off your bucket list, go and do it. Whether it's you want to buy that, just go and do it. As long as I've got a roof over my head, the bills are paid, there's food on the table, I'm going to live my life to the full. And you know, there's things I want to do, there's goals I want to do, there's dreams I want to follow. You know, I've got all these things I want to do, and I'm just going to go out there and get it and do it. You know, no one's going to do it for you. You've got to have that mindset that, you know, you've got to just go, and you've got this one life, because in a heartbeat it can all change.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you sort of put your sort of mindset to? Would you put it to because you was in the military, or have you followed anything since you've come out? Have you followed any particular people that's helped you develop a strong mindset?
No, I mean, I've always been quite, like, I suppose growing up I was very, you know, set in my ways and that, but I think the military just emphasized that and helped develop it more into that, like, because like when I went through my rehab and that, and so because I only had half a foot on this side, all the physios and everyone were like, you'll never run ever. I was like, get me a blade and I'll show you. But I'm the worst person to say you can't do that. I was like, give me that blade, and they wouldn't give me a blade, so I ended up borrowing one off one of the lads, took my socket off my leg, put it onto the blade, put the blade out, and I dragged like 3 nurses out into the field outside, and I ran 100 meters and ran back. Obviously I was blowing and hanging out, but I was like, there you go, I've just run 200 meters, don't tell me I can't do anything. And I've kind of had that mindset ever since. Like, I'm the worst person that says, if you can't, you know, if you can't do that, I'll just keep going until I prove you wrong. But yeah, I suppose it's just, I think the military definitely helped develop that. But it's just one of those things, you know, why just because I've got a disability should I not be able to do that, or just because I've got one leg that I can't, you know, give that a crack or do that, or who's to say that you can't do that just because I've got prosthetic leg?
Oh, I thrive on that, man. I love it when people say I can't do something.
Yeah, I was like, tell me, go on, try me. Go on, tell me I can't do it, I'll show you I'll bloody do it. You know, and I'm just like, you know, I dare to say it type thing. But I'm just trying to be the best version of me I can, and just try and inspire people along the way. I've got a few big things planned in the next couple of years for charity. One thing I forgot to mention, when I was going through my rehab, in my first year, I kind of hit a bit of a brick wall with not progressing physically. So a couple of the lads from my unit, they used to come and visit me, and we came up with this crazy idea that I'd do a US Marine Corps marathon in Washington, DC for charity. So I was halfway through my rehab, and I told all the physios, I was like, I'm going to do a marathon. And they're like, you are crazy. I was like, I'm going to do it on my crutches. And they were like, not
fair play, man.
And I ended up doing it, raising probably nearly £1 million for charity. So
you proved them wrong.
So I did that back in 2010. And then, yeah, from that kind of moment onwards, I was like, right, there's nothing I can't do. If I want to do it, I'm just going to do it. And yeah, so there's a few more. That was the last thing I did for charity. So there's a few more things I've got planned. But I've got to just see how my CrossFit stuff goes first. That's
it,
my
man.
priority.
You might become the next big name in the adaptive CrossFit.
Well, that's the plan. I want to be, because it's the good thing is when I transitioned into CrossFit, obviously they just announced it. So obviously CrossFit's been quite big in America. So they've got a few adaptive athletes that are quite well known out there, and that. But obviously UK is obviously we're a lot smaller, and it's still relatively new over here, especially for like
it's growing. It's growing very quick over here.
It is growing really quick. So I've already had a couple of DMs off other adapted athletes and that. So we've got a guy coming down tomorrow who's a below knee. So he's coming down to he's going to do the class with me. I'm going to do some coaching, and we're going to do some training together.
What's his name? Sorry.
So his name's Charlie, but on social media, his name is One Leg and a Mullet.
Wait, do I know him? I think I might.
You might already follow him. Oh. You might already follow him.
One leg.
Yeah, one leg and a mullet is on his Instagram.
And the mullet's becoming a big thing in CrossFit now, isn't it? A lot of people getting mullets.
Yeah, so he's coming down tomorrow. He's a below knee. So he's just started recently into CrossFit and wants to compete, and same as me. And because I'm the one at the minute that seems to be out there competing, going to the, because I'm like on, so like finding all these big comps and just hitting them up and going, right, do you have an adaptive division? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I'm coming to compete. So, and they're like, okay. And it's just getting the awareness out there. So I'm really pushing, got a few big connections, which is good. It's helping me get that kind of one foot in the door. So I'm hoping to try and develop it in this country, like really, really big.
Awesome,
I'm in talks with a few big companies to potentially next year create actually adaptive category, or if it's teams, to allow adapted athletes to like participate. And you don't necessarily, depending on the discipline, you don't necessarily have to change a lot of things. It's just tweaking little things. So for example, if you've got a squat, because I'm above knee, I don't have any control over my knee joint. If I start squatting, I can't stop the leg, especially if I'm putting my body weight for it. So for me, a squat would be to a box. So you're not changing the exercise. I'm just
potentially reducing the range of motion, or just having that stop.
And it's just little things like that. So like and it's just, so there's not a lot actually that needs to be tweaked as such. It's just creating that exposure,
slight alternative movement, man. That's what it's about.
Exactly. So,
hence the name. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm trying to hopefully, obviously training permitted, obviously because the games is prior, but I'm trying to hit as many comps as I can without doing too much that gets that exposure out there, and as
create that awareness,
creating that awareness for adaptive athletes in the UK. And I kind of want to be, as it's in its first year, I want to kind of try and be the sort of the trailblazer for it in the UK. I'm pushing it really hard.
I'll say, definitely we've got very, very similar missions, yourself and me. So that's one of my sort of goals, is to, with alternative movement and what I've created, I'm trying. So now it is going into a CrossFit gym as of January. So my idea was to create alternative movement where I would almost create workshops and courses where I can go into other CrossFit gyms and give other CrossFit coaches the ability to adapt their programming. Like you say, it is only slight tweaks, but not many gyms have that knowledge and how to tweak their programs for adaptive athletes. So I thought, what a beautiful thing if I can create that and sort of echo that across CrossFit gyms within the UK as it's growing. And as you say, with the adaptive athlete side.
Well, that's what I'm like. The plan is to when I come back from Miami, from Wallapalooza, is obviously concentrate on the Open, get the Open done, and then depending on where I finish, if I qualify for the quarterfinals and stuff like that. But it all depends how far I get the games. But main aim for me is always to try and get to the games and that, but potentially doing, not obviously just having this exposure to other big competitions and help develop the adaptive side of things in this country, but also to do sort of box tours where you go around to boxes that potentially won't have adaptive athletes in their box. They haven't got any adaptive athlete members, but going there and just showing them like what we can do, and what if you have an adaptive athlete that walks into your box, there's no reason why you can't take them on, you can't coach them, they can't be involved, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. Like, not necessarily, I don't think there would be resistance within a CrossFit gym in regards to sort of like if an adaptive athlete came in and was like, I want to train. I don't think they'll turn them away.
Oh no, but I think some people would be you know, kind of not confused,
not
but,
sure,
you know, not sure how to deal with it.
But it would be nice if that athlete could go into the gym and go, oh, I'm looking at training, I've got a leg missing or I'm in a wheelchair, and they go, right, cool, come with us. We're going to put you on this XYZ program sort of thing, or you're going to follow this program that's slightly adapted. And
well, that's why that Charlie's coming down tomorrow, you see. So he's below knee. So he actually, because he has his knee joint, he can pretty much compete with the able-bodied, give or take, because it's such a massive game changer having your knee joint. Having
that knee flexion, yeah.
Yeah. So he can, and he has been and will be. He wants to compete, and he can compete against. But it's like he said. So he's coming down here because obviously he follows me, and he's reached out to me and CrossFit All or Nothing down here about getting, you know, coaching and wants to do it, because unfortunately for him, the box that he coaches in, trains in, they don't coach. So he just turns up, he takes a program off CrossFit's website and just does it, but he's not progressing because he's got no coaching, and they don't know how to coach him, if you know what I mean. So he's obviously just getting fitter and fitter, but he's not necessarily progressing because he's not actually getting the coaching. Whereas tomorrow when he comes down here, he'll do the class with himself, you know, go up against able-bodied people, which he loves to do anyway. And then we then go into sort of like training. So we will then go off the program, and then we go into some sort of coaching to see, you know, we'll work on weaknesses, whatever so for example, he's been down once already. So for example, he can do a muscle up. So we've already done some progression with him that he can go away to his box and teach. Because I said to him before, I said, if they taught you how to do a muscle up? And they're like, no, they don't know how to. So if you can't do it, you don't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't do it? What happens if a muscle up comes up? You want to compete. What happens if a muscle up comes in the WOD? What are you going to do? I was like, you've got to try and learn how to do it. So obviously, Carl, the coach here, straight away, we spent a half an hour breaking it down into sort of sections that he can take away and go and do. So I'm expecting him tomorrow to come back and progress a bit, because he's actually been given the coaching to go away, and he can do that on his own. And it's just things like that. So, you know, that's the whole point of potentially doing these little box tours, just to go around and give, you know, these CrossFit boxes the awareness and the ability to, if a adapted athlete strolls into their box, you can take them on, no problem.
So what have you lined up any boxes to go into yet and do?
Well, yeah, we're in talks with a few, but it's just, and I mean, obviously getting Christmas out of the way, I've got my comp coming up. It's just tying everything down. We're talking, you know, to some big names and got some boxes, you know, because if we can do it at a higher level straight away, then the awareness is going to be out there more, and then we want to filter it down all the way, you know, to the sort of the smaller boxes as well. But we just want the awareness out there. Myself and Carl as well, we've got a YouTube channel up, so we're doing like some proper coaching specifically to adapted athletes, because if you go on YouTube and click coaching or whatever for CrossFit, it's just nothing. It's nothing for adaptive. It's all just you know, for your athletes and that. So we found that gap, and we're, you know, it straight away we're on that already, and we've, you know, created a few YouTube videos already. So we're just trying to get that awareness out there.
So what videos have you created? Have you created ones? Is it just at the moment for lower extremities? Do you have like wheelchair?
So at the minute, so it's lower extremities at the minute, but we're in talks. I'm in talks with other athletes with different impairments to me. So I'm in conversation with a woman that's got one arm lost at the elbow. So the plan is to get her down, or we go into her box, do some training with her, see how she does things and how she does it, because it helps me understand it, helps Carl, the coach, understand it, and then it just gives you that insight. So then the plan is to have all these videos of all these different adaptions or different disabilities, so that whoever decides to log on and watch it, it's got your fall into one of those categories.
It's a real niche, isn't it? It's like when I sort of hit on it,
and that's why we're on it right now.
Yeah. And I don't think that's the problem, like, because there's not a lot of competition for that niche. As I was sort of like speaking to some of my other like PT friends, and it's like they're not intimidated by sort of like, you tend to find you can get a bit of animosity between other PTs at work. We're trying.
I mean, obviously there is some videos that will be specific to CrossFit, but we want to show it's not necessary. It doesn't have to be specific to CrossFit. It's just health and fitness in general. So like, just anybody with a disability wants to go on there and learn a movement that makes them fitter, stronger, healthier, whatever, regardless of their disability, they can do that. You don't have to be doing CrossFit to do it. It's a fit, it's just that those, like you say, those range of movements.
It's fitness. It's fitness for people with disabilities or adaptive athletes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice, man. So you've got a real sort of clear vision. That was my sort of next question. What's your sort of next steps for the future? But
with that, it's juggling everything. It's developing the channel. It's getting the awareness out there. It's meeting people. It's networking. It's trying to grow the sport, the adaptive side of it over in this country, as well as my full-time training and my main goal, which is, get to the games eventually. And at the same time, compete at as many comps I can and just build that awareness and just try and, create a really good community of adaptive athletes over here in the UK. Because as I say, we're always one step behind the Americans. Obviously, there's some big names.
I'd say a bit more than one step. We're well behind the Americans.
Yeah, exactly. So
unfortunately,
it's just trying to help grow the sport in this country, basically, as well as obviously my own sort of selfish goals of trying to get to the games.
That's not a selfish goal, man. If by getting to the games you can raise that awareness, like you're helping other people as well. So, and that's the thing, you want to become that sort of like, I'm sure you've got your sort of people you look at and go, oh, I want to be like that guy, or I want to have that sort of level of success within this industry. And you could be that for someone else.
Some of the big names, I talk to some of the big athletes, the well-known names in this country, and on a regular basis, and get advice and that, and looking at going to their boxes, doing some training and coaching with them guys, because best way to learn is to learn from the best, right? Who's our best athletes in this country? So you go and find them and you learn from them. It doesn't matter, I've got one leg. You know what I mean?
I said, don't reinvent the wheel, man. If someone's done it already, go and learn from them guys. They're going to give you the best experience.
Exactly.
So how have you found the adaptive community? Have you been sort of met with quite... So when I first sort of like put myself out there on social media with what I do, like honestly, like the amount of people that was coming through, and just the warmth from other sort of like people with disabilities or adaptive athletes or other adaptive coaches, there was just such a strong connection there. There was.
I think because it's in its first year, there's a lot of obviously teething problems, because which will eventually get ironed out as and when more adaptive athletes obviously come across. So at the minute, there's only my category is lower extremity. So I, for example, would potentially be competing against Charlie, who's a below knee. Now Charlie could compete against able-bodied because he has that knee joint, whereas I physically can't because I haven't got the knee joint. So he will beat on certain things. He will beat me all day long because he has that knee joint. Now at the minute, there's not enough athletes to go, right, we've got a lower limb, we've got a below knee and an above knee, but that's what will need to happen eventually to make it a level sort of playing field. So that and obviously I've only got half a foot on this side, so my balance is non-existent. So anything overhead, I'm having to work 10 times harder than everybody else because I've got the strength. So
but it's a stability side of things.
It's right saying, I know for a fact I can put more weight on the bar, but I physically can't because I haven't got the balance. I've got the strength to do it, but I haven't got the balance to do it. And obviously, being that they don't take that into consideration as a separate disability, you know what I mean? So at the minute, like if you speak to like Derek, one of the American athletes, he's just like, above knees, we just got to work 10 times harder than everybody else because we've got to work 10 times harder than the below knees to try and keep up with them. And then you've got the below knees that are competing against people that have got limb deficiencies in length and that, but they've got all their limbs. So then they're at a disadvantage in that. But until the sport grows and develops and we've got enough athletes coming in, we can't necessarily have all these different categories at the minute. So, but I mean, I'd like to think I'd like to think eventually there'll be more athletes will come across, like with the Paralympics, powerlifting was fairly new, came into the Paralympics quite late. And as it started growing, what you started finding was people from other sports decided to come across. So, for example, the last year before I retired, we had a female come across to the team that was from wheelchair basketball. She'd been to 2 Paralympic Games of wheelchair basketball. And as you can imagine, being in a wheelchair all the time, she was big and strong upper body. So she just transferred that skill straight to powerlifting. So you'd like to think as the adaptive side of things grow within CrossFit, that more and more athletes from other Paralympic sports might come across.
That's the hope, yeah.
Because the good thing about the CrossFit is because there's so many different elements to CrossFit, you could almost come from any sporting background into it. So you don't have to, like the powerlifting, you want to be strong. So,
it's not specific, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's not certain athletes from certain sport that are going to come across, where CrossFit is so, it covers everything, gymnastics, strength, conditioning, CV. It covers, like you say, it's such a big range that whatever sport you do, you could potentially come and transition into CrossFit quite easily from any sporting background.
And that was one of the things that sort of CrossFit says. It said you shouldn't be first in anything. You should try and be second in everything.
Yeah, well, that's why Matt Fraser was so good at everything, because he trained all these weaknesses.
Yeah.
Hence why he was hard to beat, and he was so dominant for 5-6 years, because he was, most people are good at one thing and not so good at that thing. But with Matt, he was there. He brought everything there.
Everything in one line.
Not one, it wasn't one massively here, one really here. He was there with everything, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just be good. Well, not just trying to get everything.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you've got your favourite movements and you've got your favourite. It's like, I'm really good at cleans. I don't really want to do ring muscle ups today. Let's do cleans.
yeah. So it's just trying to. That's why I train full time. You've got to put in the hours and put in the training.
So, what is your favourite movement if you was going to put one on it?
I don't really have a favourite movement, to be honest. I mean, there's certain things that obviously that I take my leg off for. So that's the other thing. So if there's a workout or WOD that, I look at all the elements, all of the movements, and I think, right, actually, I don't need my leg on, and I can do that without my leg, then I'll do it without my leg. But then there's some that might need your leg, might not. But then if I've got to do that transition of putting my leg on and off, I'm wasting 30-40 seconds putting my leg on. So it's one of those, do I keep my leg on, do I keep it off? But I have to look at the whole workout to see whether or not it's worth taking it on or off. And then, but if it's in a qualifier, so like online qualifiers, you can do, before you submit them, you can do them as many times you want before you've got a time frame to submit them. So what I would normally do is do it once with the leg on and once with the leg off, and see what
best time is.
Yeah, exactly.
So stuff like how do you find doing like kipping movements, like kipping pull-ups or toes to bar?
Yeah, so toes to bar, absolutely, because my core is really strong from all my rehab and stuff. So toes to bars are not a problem. Pull-ups aren't a problem. The kipping is not a problem. Muscle ups aren't a problem now, because everyone was like, "Oh, you're doing muscle up because you're strong." I was like, "It's nothing to do with strength. It's all technique." And for 3 months, I was like, "I can't do it." And then all of a sudden, you just get that movement, and it's fine now. So I did. So my last movement that I couldn't do, that I hadn't really practiced it, was muscle ups on the rings, and then I can do that now. So I can now physically do every single movement within
fantastic.
the CrossFit. I'm now just trying to obviously condition myself and get better at them all.
Perfect it, string them together, and
and then and that's the thing. It's all right splitting these, but can you do these exercises when you're blowing out, when you've just done so and so, or you've just done that? It's that, and it's just trying to find that. From speaking to other athletes, the only bit of advice they gave me was like, just remember, it's not a sprint, and it's about taking tactical little rests here and there. So obviously in the military, we're told to just go gun ho in it and stay out the blocks, and you're like, it's I'm learning quick. So it's just now about conditioning and maintenance on the leg as well, because if my leg tires, especially if I haven't got my leg on, my leg tires quite quickly. So it's just getting that leg strong and used to that amount of volume, but without doing too much and preserving it.
It's like keeping that symmetry within your workouts as well, and avoiding any
and then
imbalances.
obviously conditioning, CV wise, obviously, because coming from a strength-based sport, I didn't do any CV for 6 years, so it's just about building that back up and that. But yeah, it's getting there. I'm progressed so much since I started in January already. I mean, I did one of the qualifiers for the Open. We did probably 4 months ago, and I probably knocked, I don't know, 3 minutes off my time from the first time I'd done it.
Oh, decent.
So, straight away, and the weights are creeping up on the bar. So, I'm now shifting a bit more weight and that, but it's, like I said, it's all about the movement and the balance and technically getting it all right and that. So for me, my aim is to just try and get to a level where I can RX everything. Once I can RX everything, I will train at that, and then I'll build on that after. Because on the day, if it's a case of 1 rep max, you're just going to chuck whatever on at the end of the day and just do it on the day. So it's just training hard, but just making sure you're covering all aspects, because like you say, you don't know what you're going to get.
I think that's the exciting thing about it. Like I'll sit up waiting for the workouts to get released on the Open. Me and the missus just sit there, because missus is big into it as well. She's a Olympic weightlifting coach, so we sit there like waiting for the come on, oh no, like last year's ones were, or this year, sorry, was horrible. Some of them Open workouts, they was real tough. I struggled with them anyway. The missus didn't. She's an absolute machine, but it's a lot of fun. Cool. Man, I really appreciate you coming on today.
That's all right,
dude. You've spun me a little bit with that story. That was I couldn't imagine being in your situation, but no, like I can see you motivating a lot of people, and your mission. You've got a good mission, and I think you're going to help a lot of people. And I'd love to see like what changes you make within the industry in the UK within the next few years, because it is very much in its early stages. It's in early stages in America, to be honest. What's CrossFit been about for what, 20 something years?
I don't know.
2000. I should know. I done the course the other day. I had to recite this stuff back like a cult leader. But it's still very much in its early stages, and even the UK. Big time.
It's good.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming on today. I know my audience is going to love listening to some of your stories. No, it's not a problem at all, buddy. I really appreciate it. But keep up the good work, bud. And I'd love to have you on in the future as well. If
no dramas.
Once you've been to the CrossFit Games and you've won, and then we can get you back on. That's if you're not too famous by that point, and then you just sort of bear my messages.
Never.
Awesome, bud. All right, cheers, Ross. I really appreciate you, mate. Take care, man.
Cheers, and you.
Cheers, pal.